Hello and welcome to another episode of Game Theory, the #1 DraftKings prep show in all the land. I am your host, Monk, aka The Monk Petition, and in this very episode, we're going to be breaking down all 11 fights coming up on UFC Vegas 52, happening on April 23rd, 2022, headlined by Amanda Lemos and Jessica Andrade. So, guys, thanks for joining me. Please hit that like and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell if you want so you never, ever miss some DraftKings stats or anything MMA, DraftKings related, and sometimes gambling related too. I do tend to dabble in those waters as well. Not as successfully as some of my cohorts, but I dabble nonetheless. So guys, first things first, please check out teamriseorfall.com. If you play DFS sports of any kind, you got to at least get over there and check it out. We have experts for every single DraftKings sport. Football, baseball is back. F1 just started up. We have USFL going on. Guys, we have experts giving out tons of advice in the Discord, and YouTube videos, other articles, every single thing you could want. So be sure to check out teamriseorfall.com. Use code MONK, M-O-N-K, save yourself $10 off a subscription today. Other than that, be sure to check out MMA Engine, guys. Only a couple of weeks until we officially launch. It's me, Wheezy, Brady, and Lou Betya going ham to bring you everything you need for everything MMA, DFS, betting, gambling. I know that's the same thing as betting, but still, bear with me. We're bringing you content of every single kind pretty much daily at this point, so be sure to check out that channel, MMA Engine, over on YouTube and Twitter. So guys, without further ado, let's get right into these fights. First one of the night is kind of a laugher here. We got a guy, these guys have, 7 fights in between them professionally, and this is a UFC fight. So, Dean the Sniper Barry, 4-1, going against Mike Jackson. You may remember Mike Jackson as the guy that handily beat CM Punk all those years ago. Turned out it was a no contest, though, because but because he was smoking weed, of course, they overturned it with their draconian bullshit. But Mike Jackson 0-1 in the UFC with a loss to Mickey Gall. So let's get right into it, guys. Don't play Mike Jackson this week. Please don't. $6,700 is the worst DraftKings salary to play. It's been played 21 times since January 1st, 2021, and it has 1 win, 0 times on the optimal lineup. It is the worst salary to play. Don't play it. Just don't trust Mike Jackson this week. That's all I'm going to say about that. Dean Barry, I have no stats for. He has no Dana White Contender Series fights. None of that. So he is 4-1. He's got all 4 of his wins have come by way of KO, TKO victory. If you can see my mouse here, let's make sure I did not stop recording. Oh, and I'll try not to mute my mic this time for 2 or 3 minutes during a fight. So sorry about that last week. $9,500 is Dean Barry's salary. I don't know what to do here because $9,500 is statistically the very best salary you can play. It makes the optimal lineup 55% of the time. I think it's something like 11 or 12 out of 21. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's well over 50% every time it's played, not even when it wins. So it's a fantastic salary to play. It is the most expensive, and you are taking a chance on a guy with no UFC experience. But Mike Jackson, I don't think he's the truth at all when it comes to MMA. So Dean Barry should easily win this fight. I have no stats for him. Let's look at the strength of schedule, though. If you're thinking you're high on Dean Barry, 70 to 75 is where you want these numbers. That's about, average to decent. Anything below that, above that is great. Anything below that is pretty abysmal. Dean Barry is at a 35.71 opponent win percent, 42 strength of schedule, 31 strength of victory. These are very, very low numbers, you guys. Even Mike Jackson's strength of schedule is 62, so 20 points better than Dean Barry. So Dean kind of, fighting cans, it seems like. Here are my projections. Whatever you think is going to happen, here's how I think they will score. DraftKings visual recap. We don't have any stats for pretty much anybody. No winning stats anyway, which is what that graph is based off of. And then the aggregate professional and UFC career finishing percentages, pretty high. 100% in losses, 2 losses between them. They both got finished, or they got finished in both those losses, I should say. And then all of the wins are Dean Barry's. And as I said, they're all knockout TKO wins. So long story short, I'm not playing Mike Jackson at all. Super fade, 0%. Dean Barry in 5 lineups, maybe 2, possible 3. I feel like I'm playing spades here, but 2, possible 3, just because of the night of the salary voodoo. It's so good. It makes the optimal majority of the time, which is unlike every other salary that exists on DraftKings. No other salary makes the optimal 50% of the time. So give me 2 out of 3 in 5 lineups for Dean Barry. In 20 lineups, I'd say, I don't know, 8, 10 tops. 150, give me, I don't know, 25, 30, up to 40%, I'd say. But he's untested in the UFC, so we just don't know. I do not expect him to lose to Mike frickin' Jackson, though. So take that, it's Mike Jackson. Anyways, moving on. Marcin Prachnio going against Felipe Lins. Lins, it's been almost 2 years since he fought. In fact, 661 days if you're watching this on Tuesday. This is a light heavyweight fight. We'll start with Prachnio here. $8,400. He has made an optimal lineup in one of his 2 fights in the past 2 years, or year and 3 months, I should say. Scores 3.1 points per minute, gives up 3.42 a minute, averaging only 87.68 points per win. That is over 2 wins, as he is 2-3 in the UFC. So a losing record so far. He is $540 over his average salary. So you're paying up for a guy that has a losing UFC record. Let's just keep that in mind when you're doing your exposure math. Felipe Lins, $7,800, 0-2 in the UFC. So again, 2 guys with losing records going at it, just like the last fight. I guess not like the last fight. Dean Barry had no UFC fights. So what am I talking about? But Lins scoring only 1.08 points a minute, and that's over 8, almost 9 minutes of total UFC fight time, giving up 2.04 points a minute. Opponent's only scoring 78 when he loses. So he's only been, his 2 UFC fights, he went to decision loss and then got TKO finished by not Arlovsky, Tanner Boser. Let's see here. What other numbers? I mean, he's $600 under his average salary, but his average value is 1. Prachnio, in one of his 2 wins, he did put up over 100 points, and he's allowed over 100 points in all 3 of his losses, guys. Wow. All 3. In one of those losses, he gave up over 110. Let's see. He is pretty much a striker. Has shown no takedown points, no control time points. Gives up a few takedown points, though. Has been knocked down. I bet his Chindex is terrible. 3.17. Yeah. Both these guys have super questionable chins. I was going to say super suspect, but I didn't want to sound like, too much of a boomer there. Shit's fucking lit, bro. Felipe Lins' strength of schedule is well under Prachnio's strength of schedule by about 10 points, and Prachnio's is subpar, under 70 in pretty much every single category. I mean, this is pretty bad. Prachnio is coming off of 2 wins, one of which was over Khalil Roundtree, unanimous decision victory, in which he outstruck him almost 2-1 or over 2-1. My goodness. And then Ike Villanueva was his last win, TKO, 2nd round. I'm probably thinking, oh God, I don't know. I'm probably not going to play much of Lins here. What was his salary? 7,800. My goodness. Here are the raw DraftKings points per minute. Let's see. Prachnio is below his opponent and trending up while his opponents trend down. So we are going to have a little convergence here. You would like to see that in a graph where their opponents are above the fighter we're speaking of. Felipe Lins, well under his opponent, like we said, trending up, however. His line is the pink line, trending up, opponents trending up well faster, steeper than he is. Here are my projections, and then the DraftKings visual statistical recap. We only have one. Wait, what's going on here? Lins has no wins. That's what's going on. Lins, no wins. And then the aggregate professional and UFC career finishing percentages, very high, well over the 50% mark. Other than the UFC finishes, we're in the 80s here. So what am I thinking of for this one? I'm leaning Prachnio. I'm probably not going to have many Lins in 5 lineups, maybe a half a lineup. In 20, give me like a couple, no more than like 4 probably, just because actually it's light heavyweight. Give me 3 or 4 maybe. And then 150s, I mean 10% tops. Marcin Prachnio, give me at least double that. So I want 1 or 2 lineups out of 5 with Prachnio. Out of 20, give me, up to 7 probably. And then out of 150, I'm fine with 15-20% there probably. So give me Prachnio for the win. I think Computer Monk likes him. Actually, no, Computer Monk is picking Felipe Lins by a half a percentage, 50.5 50.5 to 49.5. So I don't know if I agree with that one, but hey, he works just on stats, so I'm part biased, and that works against me most of the time. Let me do my best here. We got Cameron Else going against Aoriqileng, I believe. Aoriqileng, I think. That was pretty close. Probably better than my Godzi Omargajev pronunciation, but I digress. This is going to be a flyweight fight. Aoriqileng, $9,100. He is $1,200 over his average salary. $1,200, and he's 0-2 in the UFC. But he does have Cameron Else, another guy, 0-1 in the UFC. Been a year and a half since we've seen him. $7,100. We'll start with Else here. 1.1 points per minute in just under 6 minutes of UFC fight time, giving up 4.81 points a minute, and you're paying $100 more than we did last time. So all kinds of guys with no wins and high salaries this week. Aoriqileng, 3.42 points a minute, pretty good pace offensively. But then you see in 15 minutes of fight time on average, so actually 30 minutes of fight time, he's given up 5.5 points a minute, guys. That is insanity. Both these guys just handing out DraftKings points like they're flyers in front of the supermarket or something during election time. But shit is ridiculous. Neither guy has a win. Aoriqileng giving up 112 when he loses. Else gave up 97.5 when he lost. I mean, I've got hardly any numbers here that are any good. Else allowing 1.75. Whoops. I just dropped. Oh, no. Something just happened. I don't know what just happened. Am I still recording? I am still recording. My screen just went black for a second. Mucho apologies. There we go. Okay. Woof. Whew, that was scary. My keyboard, I forgot, was on my lap, and it started to fall, and I grabbed it, and then both my screens shut off. Anyways, that was a mini panic mode. That's my anxiety at its best right there. Aoriqileng, I just said Else gave up a ton of takedown points a minute, 1.75, 0.76 control time points per minute given up. Aoriqileng scoring 0.67 takedown points per minute. So Aoriqileng can take you down, and Else can be taken down. That is a much better way to say that. Don't have too many stats at all. Strength of schedule is okay for Aoriqileng, under 70 still, which is not good. Strength of defeat is all right, 78.57. Jeff Molina probably has a lot to do with that. Cameron Else, strength of schedule is abysmal. 41.86% win percentage in his last five, or I should say his last five opponents pro record, 18-25. 47.49 strength of schedule. His one loss in the UFC was his debut against Kyler Phillips back in 2020, and for some reason I don't have any odds there. Is that a DWCS fight? I don't even know. Doesn't matter. Let's see. Raw DraftKings points per minute graph. We have Aoriqileng well below his opponents, but trending up, and the same thing with Cameron Else, but at a much slighter degree. Much more slight degree, is that the proper way to say that? Here are my fight projections, a bit higher for Aoriqileng, and then my graph, which is empty, and here we go for the aggregate finishing percentages, pretty low as a matter of fact. In fact, their total percentages of finishes and wins is over 50%, but everything else in their losses especially, and in the UFC, which they have no wins, is all below 50%. I don't like this fight for DraftKings. I'm probably gonna, Aoriqileng seems very expensive, but he could land some takedowns here. Give me the Aoriqileng side. 5 lineups, maybe 1, half to 1. 20 lineups, give me like 4, maybe. That's a lot of, said $9,100, dude. That's a lot, maybe 2. And 150, I'll be super low on this fight, under 10% in 150. For Cameron Else, play him at your own risk, no more than 5%, in my opinion. I'm not going to be playing him in 5s or 20s, probably. Oh, God, I don't know, man. Aoriqileng's been subbed. Else has 4 sub wins. I said the same shit about Haile Alateng last week, and I'm eating crow right now, so just be careful. I'm not going to say 0. Just keep your salary or your exposures pretty low on this fight, I would imagine. Next one, light heavyweight fight, second one of the night. Tyson Pedro, the return. He's been gone for almost 3.5 years, you guys. His last UFC fight was 1,235 days ago, if you're watching this on Tuesday, against Ike Villanueva. 1-4 in the UFC. What are we doing here? I'll keep this one super short. Ike Villanueva has terrible stats, only scores 90 points when he did win. Pedro is pretty much the opposite. He is 3-3 in the UFC, 2.38 points per minute, but he is a knockout artist. Actually, I say that, and he only has 2 wins by KO TKO. He has 5 sub wins, so I take that back. Rewind, not a knockout artist. When he does win 107.14 points, he's allowing 3.65 points per minute. $950 over his average salary again. But when he wins by finish, we're in those triple digits, especially that TKO win he had in the UFC, 116. Submission wins, which he has 2 in the UFC, averaging 102.65. So pretty decent there. Ike Villanueva has yet to score over 90. And he's given up over 100 in 3 of his 4 losses. Don't play Ike Villanueva this week. I'll be all over Tyson Pedro. This should be a relatively simple fight, I would imagine. I hate saying that because, you know, it could bite me. But, I mean, come on. 2-3, Tyson Pedro in his last 5 has the best strength of schedule we've seen, over 70 at least in most categories. But Ike Villanueva, you know, strength of victory is terrible. And we are over 70 as far as the other categories, but he's 1-4 in his last 5. I don't see, I mean, Pedro at least has a win over Paul Craig. Speaking of Paul Craig, shout out the shirt that I'm wearing. Here are my projections. I mean, I think Pedro finishes Ike Villanueva here. I think you have to play Tyson Pedro. 9,300 is a bit expensive. 950 over his average salary, like I said, but I just think you have to play him. I'm not going to be playing any of Ike Villanueva. I don't trust him. 1-4 in the UFC. I mean, could he knock Tyson Pedro out? I guess, but that's a chance I'm willing to take that he doesn't do that. So give me Tyson Pedro 1-2 in 5, 1-2 lineups in 5s. Maybe out of 20, maybe like 30. See if you can work in 30%. Take some of that Dean Barry exposure you're trying to throw all your money on and put it on Tyson Pedro. 150 max, I think 30% is fine. I think that's probably about where he'll be, maybe even more than that, but I don't mind it. I like the Tyson Pedro play this week. I just don't trust Ike Villanueva. Dude's 38 years old. Tyson Pedro, 30, but he is coming off that extra long layoff, so I guess this is a pretty risky one to target, but I think you have to target it because somebody is not surviving the entire 15 minutes. Next fight, Dwight Grant going against Sergey Khandozhko. DraftKings had this, at least last night, listed as Sergey being out. I have not been able to validate that information. I've searched everywhere. I've searched Big Marcel's Twitter feed like 14 times since I saw that. I see nothing. In fact, he was in... I believe Luke asked him right before I was going to send him a tweet, but Luke sent him a tweet saying, is this fight off, blah, blah, blah. And Marcel says that Sergey is in Vegas and is fighting Saturday. So I think it's an error by DraftKings. Wouldn't be the first fucking time. Anyways, I have no stats. Actually, that's not true. Sergey has 2 UFC fights, hasn't fought in almost 2.5 years, though, in the promotion. We'll start with him, $8,300. This week, 2.7 points per minute, 2.82 per minute is what he gives up. In his one win, he scored only 70.83 points. In his loss, he gave up only 82. So not a ton of points for Honda here. 8,200 is his average salary, so he's a bit more than that. But $100 is negligible in this game. Dwight Grant, $7,900. Good power for both these guys, but Dwight Grant's chin, super suspect. Let me say it this time. 2.16. The higher this number is, the worse it is. And that is a very high number for this category. So he has been getting knocked down. In fact, if you allow me, let's digress here. We'll go into my actual stat sheet. He's been knocked down 3 times in his UFC career. So that's why his chin index is 2.16. He's scoring only 1.79 points a minute, 69.97 points averaged out over his 3 UFC wins. This guy is pretty much unplayable. He is coming in $617 less than his average salary. He's only put up 90 or over 100 in 1 fight, which means he won a fight with a very low score. Where are we at here? 45 points. See, I know what I'm talking about occasionally. So he's put up 108 against Carlo Pedersoli Jr. Alan Jourdain, he scored 45 points in a split decision, and Stefan Sekulik, 55, almost 56 points in another split decision. So can't trust Dwight Grant here. What was that win? He scored 100. He knocked the dude out right before the first round was it. So I don't know. I'm probably fading this fight in general. I mean, average score of less than 70 and 70. I'm pretty much fading this fight. You know, these guys don't throw a lot. Very low volume. 2.86 and 2.83 strikes landed per minute, respectively. Pretty good striking defense. Strikes landed against per minute, 2 for Dwight Grant, which is the best number on the card in ranked fighters. And then we have 1.7 for Sergey Khandozhko, who's not ranked yet because he only has 2 UFC fights. You need 3 UFC fights to be ranked on my sheet here. I mean, this is just bad. Less than 20% grappling time controlled for each of them. Good strength of schedules, over 70. But yeah, I think this one's going to be a big fade. This is my first fade fight where I'm fading both sides for sure. Here are my projections. Excuse me. And decisions not even touching 70. I mean, here are the DraftKings visual statistical recap, which we actually have a graph for this time. Grant's graph is actually decent. Lots of real estate here. But then you see Sergey kind of peeking out in distance striking, grappling points per minute, or per win, rather. Stuff like that. He just has no finishes, so there's a large piece missing for him. Very low finishing percentages on the aggregate graphs here. Ouch. Oh, did you hear that? I just hit my tooth. Son of a bitch. Such a thirsty boy. All right. What am I doing for this one? Well, I already told you, fading. There's no way I would choose Dwight Grant for a DraftKings fight or even to win a UFC fight. So if I'm picking a winner, I'm picking Sergey probably. But I'm not playing either of them in DWCS or in DWCS in DK. I guess in 150s, give me less than 10% of each. Smaller ones, I'm not playing at all. Next fight of the night, Jourdain Wright. Haha, going against Marc-Andre Barriault. This is the exact opposite of the last fight. This one, I believe, is at catchweight. Tapology has this at a 190. And if it is catchweight, you're going to want to play this. The salary voodoo for catchweight is fantastic. The weight class is the best to make the optimal. I mean, I know it's only happened like 12 times in a year in some, but I think 7 of those 12 have made the optimal lineup. So for some reason, catchweight is a good weight class to play. Jourdain Wright, 7,600. This guy's bang or bust. What can I tell you? 6.38 points a minute, highest on the card. 109, almost 110 when he wins, but he is 2-2 in the UFC. 7.68 points gets scored on him per minute. So he scores the highest points on the card at 6.38, and he gets outscored by 1.5 points. Insane. And when he loses, he allows 111.09. So you have to target this fight. In fact, Wright is only $75, right around his average salary or over his average salary. Marc-Andre Barriault coming off of a devastating quick knockout loss to Chidi Njukwani. Yeah. But before that, wins over Abu Izatar and Dalcha Lungiambula. 8,600 is power bar this week. 3.13 points a minute, allows 3.47, but a huge number when he wins as well. 106.07 points per win, and that's over 2 wins. He is 2-4 in the UFC. Yikes. 96.39 points per loss is what he's giving up, and he is $600 over his average salary. What can I say about this guy? Let's see. Only 80 points per win. I like this fight. I'm going to target this one. The salary voodoo is great for this. If you tune in tomorrow, I don't know if I'm going to be talking about this one, so I'll just do it quickly here. 86 and 7,600 is the best, one of the best salary pairs you can play, other than I think 85 and 77. But it is a fantastic pair. Both sides, with decent percentages of making the optimal in wins. So I'm targeting this one for that reason, for the catchweight reason, because both these guys can knock you out with one strike reason. I'll be heavier on Barriault, I'm sure. I think he's one of the better plays on the card if his chin holds up. If he can avoid Jourdain Wright's punch for 90 seconds, I think we're good. And if Barriault even touches Jourdain Wright, this fight might be over. So give me more Jourdain Wright. In fact, before I start to sum up, let's kind of go down here. Jourdain Wright has a pretty bad strength of schedule. And Marc-Andre Barriault, one of the best strength of schedules on the entire card. My goodness, well over 70 in every category. 1 over 80. DraftKings points per minute graph. What happened here? Oh, our graphs are ridiculous because Chidi smashed him so bad that he smashed his graph as well. So here are my projections. Both these guys with huge projections. You have to target this fight. I don't know what the inside the distance line is, but it's got to be something crazy. Here are the aggregate visual or statistical visual recap. Decent graphs for both guys, much bigger as far as finishes go, and bonus points per win for Jourdain Wright with those first round or round 1 KOs. And then huge finishing percentages in wins, a bit under 50% in losses. I think the winner makes or finishes the fight. I think they probably make the optimal as well. It's very possible with these salaries. I'll be heavier on Barriault for sure. I mean, in 5 lineups, give me 3 of Barriault, 2 Wright, something like that. Maybe even 4-1. 20 lineups, probably about the same. Give me 80 to 90, 80% exposure probably. And I'd do 50-30. Maybe 60-20. And then out of 150s, yeah, probably about 70 to 80% exposure as well. I mean, just huge point scoring opportunities in this one. You just cannot pass that up. All right, guys, we have 5 fights left already. We're at 26 minutes, banging it out. This next one I'm really looking forward to. Me stare at my microphone to make sure that it did in fact unmute itself, or I unmuted it. Charles Air Jourdain going against Lando Groovy Vannata. Featherweight fight. Jourdain 3-3-1 in the UFC. Lando Vannata 4-5-2. Vannata, let's start with him. $7,700. Again, as you heard in my last breakdown, this is a fantastic salary pair to play, and I will be all over this fight. But let me get into some stats. 2.87 points per minute is what Lando scores. He gets 2.96 points per minute scored on him. When he wins, 88.87 points per win. And when he loses, he gives up 85.81. So not a ton of points coming from Vannata here, who is surprisingly only 30 years old. No offense, Vannata. I'm not trying to age you, but he's been around for so long. I swear he was 35, but he is 30 years old. Jourdain, 26 years old, so a couple of younger guys going at it here. 3.25 points a minute, 2.98 is what he gets scored on him. 109 is what he scores when he wins. That's over 3 UFC wins. 88.35 when he loses, so pretty similar numbers with a much better upside as far as scoring goes for Jourdain, who is $314 over his average salary. That's it. That's not too bad. And if you're on the Vannata side, you're getting a deal on him. $822 under his average salary. Jourdain, when he wins by knockout, on average 117 points, and a very high number when he wins by decision, 91.81. Vannata over 100 when he finishes, but only 70 when he wins by decision. So you see the big scoring upside difference broken down in these categories as well. And then Jourdain here, obviously the much better scorer when he does win, putting up over 110 in 2 of his 3 wins, and only giving up over 100 once out of his 3 losses. Let's see, Vannata has actually put up over 100 in 2 of 4 wins, and once over 110. So not too bad at all. Only giving up over 90 in 2 of his 5 losses. Both guys showing the propensity to be taken down, giving up approximately the same amount of takedown and control time points, right around 0.8, 0.9. And then Jourdain with the much higher striking and knockdown upside. He has shown no takedowns at all, so we know we're not going to get too much grappling from Air Jourdain. So we'll have to see what Vannata's game plan is here. If he can get Jourdain down, it could be a very low-scoring affair. But Jourdain, if he can stay on his feet, could score pretty well. Vannata never been TKO'd, only been finished by sub 1 time in his entire professional career. So that is impressive. Most of his fights going to decision or submission victory for Vannata. So that's also something we could look for. Jourdain has been subbed once professionally, actually once in the UFC. Who was it by? Julian Rosa, 3rd round. So if he gets tired, might put himself in a compromising position. Jourdain with the bit better strength of schedule by a few points, with wins over Marcelo Rojo, Andre Ewell, 2-2-1 in his last 5, whereas Vannata 3-2 with wins over Grundy, Medeiros, and Marcos Mariano. Losses to Bobby Green and Mark Diakese, so not too bad there. I mean, this is going to be a great fight. I just fear that the winner might not make the optimal. When Jourdain won in the 3rd, he scored 117. I don't know, man. I want to play this fight, but I'm gonna keep it a bit tempered. At least early week, that's what I'm thinking. Give me like 40 to 50% of this fight tops. For 5 lineups, give me like, God, I don't know. 1.5 of each. 1 to 1.5 of each. In 20 lineups, 6 and 4. Pick your poison, whoever you want. I'll probably be leaning Jourdain 60-40. And then 150 is probably about the same. Probably about 40%, 50% tops. And then pick your poison. Pick whichever guy you want. 60-40 doesn't matter. That's what I would do as far as projections. Maybe even 70-30. Here are my, speaking of projections, here they are. Not very good in decisions. That's my only thing. I don't know that this fight finishes. I just don't. I have a feeling it goes to decision. And if it does, we're looking at 80, 90 points probably. And if it does go to decision, Jourdain will probably score better because he will have thrown more strikes. And I assume that's what's going to happen most in this fight, especially if Lando cannot get him down. So here are my aggregate finish percentages. Pretty low. We'll have to see what Computer Monk says about this one. I will be showing, as long as I don't forget, my Computer Monk's picks and methods of victory by the end of this. I should say finish or decision, not methods of victory, but we'll do that right after we go through these fights. Next fight, Mudaeji going against Manel Kape. Manel Kape's $8,700, 2-2 in the UFC, 3 points per minute, 2.35 is what is scored on him. The best DraftKings points per win average on the card, only 2 wins, but still 119.58. And he only gives up 65.8 when he loses. My goodness. Let's check out Mudaeji over here. 2.58 points a minute. Hasn't fought in a year and 3 months. 1.57 points a minute is all he gets scored on him. So some fantastic defense. But Mudaeji in his one UFC loss did give up 105.5 points. So I'm sure he did get fit. Yeah, he got subbed, and we'll see who that was. Well, let's just look. Let's just have a look. What's going on here? Smolka. Luis Smolka. So 7,500 for Mudaeji. Only scores 86.5 when he wins. So not a very offensive, high volume point scoring offensive striker. 105, we already said that. He is $850 under his average salary, and Kape is actually $50 under his average salary as well. So very interesting. Love to see a fight where both guys are cheaper than their average salaries. I don't have a ton of stats for this one. I mean, Kape scores very well. The upside of Kape is fantastic, especially his finish upside. He has finished half of his UFC fights, whereas Mudaeji has 1 UFC stoppage and 1 UFC stoppage loss. Let's see what we got as far as takedowns. Not a ton of ground time, or ground points, I should say, from these guys. 0.6 points total from Mudaeji, and that's about double of what Manel Kape is. So I do expect a striking battle here. Kape with the much higher power in his hands. 1.65 power index compared to 0.59. So the much better power index, the much better strength of schedule. I mean, this is bad for Mudaeji. Less than 65 in most of these categories. I mean, his last 5 opponents pro record 63 and 34, so not great. Whereas Manel Kape is well over 75 in every single category and 85 strength of defeat. So pretty decent. His only UFC losses coming to Matthias Nicolau and Alexandre Pantoja. Here are my raw DraftKings points per minute graph. Mudaeji over his opponent and trending up, and opponent trending down. We love to see that. And Manel Kape, same exact thing, but opponents also trending up. Just not very steep. And here are my projections, much lower for Mudaeji, as you would expect. I mean, even this graph for the real estate here, incredible from Manel Kape. The finish wins, the DraftKings points per win, and the bonus points per win. Huge scoring advantage here. And then my aggregate win-loss finishing, or aggregate finish percentages in the UFC and professionally. Probably, Computer Monk probably thinks this one is going to finish. I'll be on the Manel Kape side. 8,700 might be a bit much, though. Like, I just don't know if this one's going to finish. I am going to be paying up for it because of the 119.58 points per win. And we haven't seen Mudaeji fight in a year and 3 months. So what are we going to expect from him? We don't know. Not a very high output fighter. tends to go to decisions in the, I guess, half of his fights have gone to decision. I just don't see Manel getting knocked out. He's never been TKO'd in his career. Give me a bit more Manel Kape. Probably not much Mudaeji, to be honest. Maybe in 5 lineups, maybe half for Mudaeji and probably 2 for Kape. Maybe 3, 2.5. 20 lineups, maybe like, again, 2 for Mudaeji. Maybe for some salary relief if I need it. But even then, you're not getting much salary relief at the $7,500 price point. Manel Kape, I don't know, 8 to 9, 10 tops in 20s. And then 150s, give me, 50% Kape. 10% Mudaeji, something like that. Maybe 15. Nothing crazy, though. Maycee Barber going against Montana De La Rosa. Let's get right into it. Maycee Barber, $9,000. I will not be paying up for Maycee Barber this week. I don't see how I could. She only scores 2.68 points a minute. She gets outscored. She's 90.77 points per win, which isn't terrible, but it's not great. Especially that's barely 10x. Only gives up 83 when she loses. Let's see here. She is $367 over her average salary. So you are paying up for Maycee Barber. Montana De La Rosa, $7,200, 3.38 points per minute is what she's scoring. And she's giving up only 1.93 points a minute, which is one of the best numbers on the card. Sorry, I have to send this message here. 95.58 points is what she scores when she wins, which is a very good number, especially for women's flyweight. And she only gives up 67.72. She's also $1,143 under her average salary. It is insane. 7,200. I'm going to be paying. Look at this. Made the optimal lineup in both of her fights since January 1st, 2021. Insane. 5-2-1 in the UFC. I'm going to be paying up for Montana De La Rosa. I love the upside here. I think she might sub Maycee Barber. God, that would be incredible to see. I just love the scoring upside of Montana De La Rosa and the scoring defense of Montana De La Rosa as well. 3 of her 5 UFC wins, she scored over 90. Two of them over 110. So come on, man. Give me the upside of Montana De La Rosa. Barber does not allow a ton of takedown points per minute at all, but she is getting controlled over half a point per minute in control time. Meanwhile, Montana De La Rosa is scoring over 1.6 points per minute in takedowns and control time. So I absolutely love it. Let's see here. What else is jumping out at me? The strength of schedule, pretty pathetic for both women here. The strength of schedule numbers, but Montana's are better. Barber's, beat Miranda Maverick, lost to Grasso and Roxanne Modafferi. That's still not a good look to get beaten up by Roxanne the way she did, injury or not. Ariane Lipski is Montana De La Rosa's last win. Draw against Bueno Silva, lost to Arjao and Lee, and a win over Mara Romero Barella, I should say. Couple of graphs here. Montana's graph, just the exact opposite of Maycee Barber's graph here. Absolutely love to see it. She's not even touching her opponents, outscoring them from completely everywhere. I absolutely love Montana De La Rosa this week. I will be getting to her in a ton of lineups, salary relief, etc. Look at these graphs. Virtually identical. And then the finish rate and win. Come on. Give me the scoring upside of Montana De La Rosa all day. I'm going to have her in a ton of lineups. 3 to 4 lineups in a 5 lineup max. 20 max. Same thing. 60 to 70%. 150, same thing, probably. 50 to 60%. Maycee Barber, it's going to be tough to get to you this week at $9,000. Honestly, I don't see how I'm going to get to Maycee. In fact, let's kind of digress for just a second, just so I can look at these salaries here. And of course, they're not in order. Son of a... Well, who else? Who's at 91? Aoriqileng, not going to get to a ton of him. There is no 92. 93 is Tyson Pedro, so yeah, I'll get to Tyson Pedro. Who's at 89? Jessica Andrade, so we haven't talked about her yet. Who's at 88? Do we have one? 88. I don't see one. So, yeah, I'm not going to get to a ton of Maycee Barber this week. I just don't see how that happens at all. Let's see. Co-main event of the evening. Sorry, my girlfriend's trying to organize our lunch and she's asking me to order it, and I'm like, no, I can't right now. Clay Guida going against Claudio Puelles. I'm going to be on the Puelles side here. Clay Guida, over 40 years old. Still, that doesn't even mean anything when we're talking about Clay Guida. Like, you guys know all about him. $8,200. Let's get into some numbers. 3.32 points per minute, only allows less than 2 points a minute back at him. My goodness, 95 points per win, only giving up 85 when he loses. And he's coming in $500 over his average salary. I just forgot how to do math for a second. Claudio Puelles, 4-1 in the UFC, $8,000, has made the optimal lineup in one of his 2 fights since 2021. Let's see, 3.2 points per minute, allows almost 3 points a minute, scores 83 when he wins, and gives up 104 when he loses. Coming in $200 over his average. I don't know what to think about this one. I'm going to temper expectations on this fight. I'm leaning Claudio Puelles to win, but how does he get it done? I mean, if this goes to decision, I don't think either of them score very well. Actually, I think Clay would outscore, if Clay wins a decision, he'll score more points than Puelles. But can Puelles finish Clay? I mean, it's possible. Maybe a little submission. But yeah, I don't know. 70.5% of Clay's wins, he has scored over 90. 30%, almost 30%, he scored over 100, and 23.5% he scored over 110. Puelles over 90 in just 1 of his 4 UFC losses. So I was thinking, I'm still leaning Puelles to win the fight, but I was thinking I would have a ton of him in DraftKings. I don't know about that. I mean, what are we scoring in takedowns, and where are we scoring points? Did I skip that? I did. Guida has the highest takedown points per minute rate on the entire card, 0.97. Meanwhile, Puelles right behind him at 0.96 points a minute. These guys have tons of grappling points. My God. And Puelles is technically giving up more grappling points than Guida by at least 0.2 a minute. So I believe there's a big size discrepancy here. Yeah, 4-inch height and 2 inches of reach. We have a southpaw versus orthodox fighter. 15, almost, 14 and a half years difference in age. So I'm leaning Puelles here for sure. Strength of schedule, much better for Puelles. Well, not much better, but better by a few points, I should say. Guida with wins over Santos and Johnson in his last 5. The Santos fight, Santos absolutely gassed. And all 4 of Puelles' last 4 fights have gone to the 3rd round, have seen the 3rd round. So I think he's got a much better gas tank than Santos. Give me Claudio Puelles here. I guess I'm going to roster him because you never know. He could get a finish over Clay Guida. He could. Guida has been sub 10 times in his pro career, 6 times in the UFC. Visual statistical recap. Pretty identical with the wins and strength of victory and finish percent in Puelles' favor. And then the aggregate finishing percentages here. Over 50, I think. So I probably think Computer Monk is going to say this one goes or finishes inside the distance, rather. I don't know, man. I think I'm going to have a little bit of Clay Guida, just a little. Give me like 35-40% of this fight as a whole. And in 5 lineups, give me half a lineup of Guida. Maybe 1. Give me 2 to 2.5 of Puelles. And a 20 max, give me like 3-4 Guida. Give me like 8 Puelles, maybe 10. 150s. You could probably go 50 Puelles. He's $8,000, which is pretty cheap. 50% Puelles and like 15 Guida. 15 to 20, I think would be fine. Maybe 25 if you're feeling froggy about him that day. But I wouldn't get too crazy with it. Guys, we did it. Main event time. Before we break this one down, thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel and hit that bell if you want. I drop these game theory videos every single Tuesday at a dentist's favorite time, 2:30 Central Time. So be sure to hit that bell in case you just forget. Plus, I do have a couple of new videos, or a couple new, videos, I guess, I'm trying to think of what our shows, that's the word I can't think of. A couple new shows that just debuted last Wednesday, and I will be putting those out weekly as well. So hit that bell, make sure you don't miss anything. And thank you a ton for hanging out with me today. We're almost done wrapping up UFC Vegas 52. We'll finish it with this one. Amanda Lemos going against Jessica Andrade. Lemos height 5'4" to 5'1" for Andrade, 3-inch reach advantage, southpaw versus orthodox fighter. In fact, and this is also kind of surprising, I guess not. Lemos, let's see, 4 years, 4 months older than Jessica Andrade. Lemos has made the optimal lineup 2 out of 3 fights since 1/1/21, and Andrade making it in 1 out of 2 fights since that same time frame. Lemos, here's the biggest part. You're getting Amanda Lemos, 2 knockout wins in the UFC, 1 submission win, $7,300, guys. 4.21 points per minute, scoring her opponent scoring 3.12 points per minute against her. Look at this number look at how the scoring opportunity in this fight is fantastic for a strawweight fight. 102.86 points per win. Jessica Andrade scoring 116.16 points a win and 4.65 points a minute. These girls are scoring machines, guys, machines. And they're giving up almost identical numbers when they lose, 113, 115, and just about 3.1 points per minute. So Lemos over $1,000 under her average salary, or I should say more than $1,000 under her average salary. Meanwhile, Jessica Andrade, 533 over her average. I mean, these women's numbers are fantastic. Look at Jessica's numbers. When she wins by knockout, 115. When she wins by sub, 117. When she wins by decision, 122.5. That's almost unbelievable. My beard is like, it's like blowing in the wind that doesn't exist here. There we go. Now it's straight. It's just kind of like flying away on me. Amanda Lemos, 80%. So 4 out of 5 of her UFC wins, she scored over 90, 3 out of 5 over 100, 2 out of 5 over 110. Andrade's numbers are the highest I've ever seen in this category. 92% of her 13 UFC wins, she scored over 90. 84.62 over 100, and over 60% of her UFC wins, she's put up over 110. My goodness. I'll have to go deeper into this and find out which ones of those wins were strawweight, flyweight, etc., because she's all over the place in weight classes. She can fight well at any weight class. I mean, Jessica Andrade, 0.97 takedown points per minute, 0.51 control time points per minute. She's given up, over half a minute in grappling, or half a point per minute in grappling as well. But I mean, almost 3 striking points a minute. She is a scoring machine, and Lemos is right behind her. 0.78 points per minute in grappling, 1.09 knockdown points per minute. Her power index is the second highest on the card, and this is a strawweight fighter. 2.04 power index. My goodness. Insane. 5-0 in her last 5. I mean, these girls' strength of schedule. Jessica Andrade, her numbers are ridiculous. I keep saying this, but I haven't looked at these yet. So these are the first time I'm seeing these. She is over 80 in 2 of 4 strength of schedule categories, 78 strength of schedule and 76 strength of victory. Her last 5 opponents have a pro record of 80-18. My goodness. And Lemos is below 70 with no defeats. Not a great look other than the no defeats. Angela Hill, Montserrat Ruiz, Lavinia Souza, Inoue Mizuki, and Miranda Granger are Lemos's last 5, and then Jessica Andrade beating Calvillo and Chukagian. Losses to the champ, and the ex-champ. I mean, my goodness. Woo, I'm getting excited for this one, man. Raw DraftKings points per minute. Amanda Lemos well above her opponent and technically not even touching her graph. Meanwhile, Jessica Andrade is well above her opponent as well and trending up while our opponent trends down. We have a little convergence of numbers here, which is what you love to see when your fighter is moving up in the upwards direction. And look at it. The highest projections on the entire freaking graph are right here. I mean, 116. This is a 5-round fight, but still, these are insanely high numbers. You have to play a ton of this fight. You just do. I thought for some reason I might be a bit low on it, but that's not going to be the case at all. I mean, look at this graph. Visual statistical recap looking great. well over 70% in 3 of 4 finishing categories. Guys, this card, I know this card isn't amazing. This fight's going to be fantastic. How am I rostering this? Well, I'm probably going to be close to actually 80% on this fight, just off the top of my head. 80%. 50-30 minimum for Lemos. 50%. In 5 lineups, give me 6. 6? What? What? In 5 lineups, give me 3 Amanda Lemos and probably 2 Andrade, 1.5. I'm not going full out. 20 max, give me 10 Lemos minimum, probably, and 5 to 6 Andrade. 150, give me 50% Lemos, 30% Andrade. Right about those numbers. The only problem with Andrade this week is that she is 8,900. Now, that's not a problem as far as her paying it off, because if she, I mean, she averages 116. That's well over, what, 12xing 8,900. Is it? I don't know. Don't care. Don't care about the exact math, I should say, but it is very high. So I absolutely love that. Either one of these women could win this fight. You have to play it both. Their scoring upside is fantastic. That's why you have to play both sides, as I was just saying. I absolutely love it. Jessica Andrade, in fact, her last fight was at flyweight. I believe it was against the champ. No, flyweight. So she hasn't actually fought at flyweight since 2019, where she lost to Weili Zhang. So could be interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on the weight cut, although I don't think she's ever missed weight. But it is interesting that she is dipping back down here. Maybe she just can't beat Chookagian. My God, she can beat Chookagian. I meant to say, I don't know if it's because she can't beat Shevchenko or not, but she's back at strawweight, and the scoring opportunities are huge for this one. So you got to play both sides. Guys, we did it. That's all 11 fights that are on the card so far. Good change to 12 or 13, depending on who you listen to. That's all we have so far for UFC Vegas 52. Let's go into my picks before we get out of here. Now, I do not agree with these. Most of them. Some of them. A few of them. In fact, Computer Monk. Let's just read them and then I'll go over. Mike Jackson by finish. Felipe Lins by finish. Aoriqileng decision. Tyson Pedro finish. Dwight Grant decision. Marc-Andre Barriault finish. Charles Jourdain decision. Manel Kape finish. Montana De La Rosa decision. Claudio Puelles finish. And Amanda Lemos finish. Guys, I obviously disagree with Mike Jackson pick. Computer Monk's picking that because we have a 0 stats for Dean Barry, so it just sees a fat 0. So that's why it's picking Jackson. And even with the 0 stats, it's only picking him at 65%. So I'm personally picking Dean Barry in this fight. I agree with the finish, though. Felipe Lins, I guess that this is the closest line fight for Computer Monk as of now, 50.55 to 49.45. So even if the odds change a little bit, this could easily change. I like the Aoriqileng pick, Tyson Pedro. Dwight Grant, that's the other one I disagree on, but I have no... Actually, that's not true. I do have stats for Sergey. But Computer Monk's picking Grant. I agree with the rest of the 6. These yellows are underdogs. I'm picking all 3 dogs. Montana, Claudio, and Amanda here. So it's a big dog week for Computer Monk and a big dog week for me as well. Guys, that is gonna do it. Like I said, all 11 fights. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Please be sure, and I'll say it for the last time, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell as well. I really appreciate it, and it honestly does help a lot. You guys have been killing the sub numbers game. I got a bunch of subs last week. Let's keep it going. I want to get to that 250 mark, by the next pay-per-view. So let's keep it going. Please sub to the channel. I really do thank you for that. And that is going to do it. I'm trying to think of anything else I have to talk about. Oh, yeah. Wednesday, DraftKings show, Pub Sports Radio, me, Brady, Uncle Weezy, and Luke. Check us out over there. That's at 6 p.m. on Wednesday Central Time. Thursday, I also have a Salary Voodoo coming out on MMA Engine. Check that channel out. Sub that channel as well. That is coming out at 10:30? It's 10:30 Central. I believe it's 10:30. Might be 11. I have to check. Tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning, Salary Voodoo will be out, where I go over 3 fights from this card and break it down from a Salary Voodoo perspective. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Just tune in and find out. And then I will also put out my new series, Supreme Clientele and Keep It Moving, where I pick 3 fights to fade, or 3 fighters to fade, and 3 fighters to be sure to play that week. So be sure to check those out. All that's dropping on Wednesdays, and then Friday on MMA Engine, it's me, it's Lou Betya, dropping Monk and Lou's Happy Hour, where we'll cover all the fights from a gambling and DraftKings perspective. So thank you guys again. Enjoy your week. Do all your tape study, pair it with this video, and we're going to be sure to be making money this week. As usual, I want all of you to enjoy the fights. So enjoy. We'll see you next time.